Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour, brought to you by TJS Ceramic Studio, Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, Excel Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Jesse Moffitt Entertainment, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire arts and entertainment conversations. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Great to have you listening as once again we present great chats from the arts and entertainment world around the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area, better known as the Sioux Empire. Former Premiere Playhouse Executive Director Robin Byrne has authored a book called The Vinci Zone. Not the Da Vinci Code, the Da Vinci Zone. It's a great book that helps you achieve unrealistic results by setting unrealistic goals. Yeah, going for the gold, baby. Hey, the Dakota Academy of Performing Arts has rebranded to become Spotlight Theater Company. Debbi Jones and Bob Wendland tell us why and what it means to that organization. But first, let's pop the cork on this bubbly little show. Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day, and your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near, and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party. You know how it goes. Whenever you happen to be drinking, whatever you're drinking out of course, is probably going to be determined by where and when you happen to be listening. My choice, as always, it's my regular, a Jasper Newton, Jack Daniels, Diet Coke with a lime. For you, be it a cup of coffee, spot of tea, glass of milk, bottle of water, mug of beer, a cocktail, glass of wine, or flute of champagne. Lift it high and toast to a very pleasant start to fall. In fact, almost summer-like. It's especially nice if you just had a brand new grill delivered to your patio this week. Oh, it's a thing of beauty. It really is. Oh, it's got a lot of power, too. Oh. So cheers to you, you majestic stainless steel outdoor appliance. Speaking of cheers, a word that ironically just happens to rhyme with beers. Say cheers with a beer or your favorite cocktail, as I do, at Chasers, West 12th Street and Ellis Road. Make sure you grab some food while you're at it. Join us Monday nights at 7 for Dave Holly Hour Trivia at Chasers. And by the way, I have some Dave Holly Hour Trivia t-shirts for sale now. This coming Monday, September 30th, it's the final Monday of the month, which means it's our monthly wild card trivia game. Lots of opportunities for people to win fun stuff. Honorable mention. So what over the past week made Dave laugh, guffaw, chuckle, chortle, giggle, simply smile, or maybe even shed a tear of joy? Seeing a private screening in the State Theater. What a majestic place to see Lost on a Mountain in Maine. That is a Sylvester Stallone production. That's right, Sylvester Stallone production, directed by a former Augustana University student, Andrew Keitlinger. It's a true story, and Andrew Keitlinger told it beautifully. It's going to come out with a national release November 1st. See it and make sure you support a creator with Sioux Falls ties. Later, I'll be talking about the new Spotlight Theater Company with Debbi Jones and Bob Wendland. In just a matter of minutes, we catch up with Robin Byrne to discuss his new book, The Da Vinci Zone, on the Dave Holly Hour. Serendipity Studio in downtown Sioux Falls has a great selection of art from local and regional artists and fun, even spooky art events. October 4th, that's going to be the usual first Friday of the month for downtown Sioux Falls. They're going to combine that with an art and wine walk, and then at Serendipity, combine it with a creepy sneak peek artist reception. Then Saturday the 5th, it's a creepy, spooky, eerie, and strange rotational exhibit. Serendipity Studio in the historic Shriver Square building, downtown Sioux Falls.
Are you an artist? Need some funding to further your art? There's a great opportunity for you through a Sioux Falls Arts Council program. The Artist Microgrant program gives away several microgrants to local artists, no matter what art discipline you're in. Unlike more traditional grants, a microgrant is very easy to apply for. Go to artssiouxfalls.org. If you haven't done so yet, create a listing on the Artist Directory, which is beneficial in its own way. Then go to the Artist Microgrants page and apply online. The process is simple. Find out more about the Sioux Falls Arts Council as well online at artssiouxfalls.org.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XO Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or exokairos.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XO Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
Once again, Dave Holland.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, yes, you know I just love to talk about Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment and all the things that get associated with it. And what we're going to do this time is talk about how the Vinci Zone might be able to help you with measurable management as part of that. Robin Byrne, who many of you probably recall, has been on the show several times and at one point started off as the executive director for SECT, Sioux Empire Community Theater. But then all of a sudden, the guy from Britain says, we need to rebrand this. And we came up with the Premiere Playhouse. And, you know, it's so hard now for me, Robin, to sit there and think of SECT.
I know. It's amazing how quickly it sort of gets like. Sometimes I have to think about what were we called beforehand.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about how all of that took place, along with the fact that you have a book out called The Da Vinci Zone.
That's right.
And you are the man that came up with measurable management, which, let's see, United States Air Force, correct?
Yeah, that's
right. They use that.
Yeah.
There's some big corporations that have used it.
Yeah.
And you've been in the back rooms and so forth, and every place else at a corporation. You were with Xerox.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of experience in the business acumen. What, first of all, made you come up with measurable management?
Measurable management grew out of sheer frustration. I was running operations for Xerox in the northeast of England, and I was sending people on all kinds of training and development courses, quality and continuous improvement. And they were going on all these workshops and things like that, coming back and saying to me, oh, Robin, that is the best training program that I've ever been on. And then they'd go and slide behind the desks and not do things noticeably that differently. Yet my phone would ring, and it would be my boss in London, and he'd be saying to me, how are we doing against profit targets, Robin? How are we doing against revenue targets? Are we selling the equipment that we need to sell to make room in the warehouse for the new stuff and all this kind of thing? And I was saying, you know, we need a program that delivers measurable outcomes into the key business issues that I'm being measured on a daily basis. And not being able to find one out there, I kind of got charged with developing an approach. And
the true D of R&D.
That's right. And I developed an approach, which at the time it wasn't called anything really. And I was getting wheeled out by Xerox into Rolls-Royce and British Aerospace and people like this, because we ended up winning Europe's #1 quality award. And they wanted to know how we'd done it and this, that, and the other. And I started to think, why am I doing this for Xerox? I should be doing this for Robin Byrne. And the Financial Times newspaper in London gave me a publishing contract. And I left Xerox and set up my own company and took what I'd done at Xerox and transformed it, polished it, if you like, and named it Measurable Management. And it like took off like a rocket right from day one. And it helped that I had the Financial Times newspaper behind me, which is, it's like having the Wall Street Journal behind you in America,
And so then you've got that under the belt and you've got it started and so forth. How did that make its way into Sioux Empire Community Theater becoming the Premiere Playhouse?
Well, when we stepped in there, and when I say we, I mean, there was a lot of people that did a lot of work to turn the place around.
Because it was in financial trouble.
Well, it was on the verge of bankruptcy. Rick Weiland came to me, and Rick and I had, we'd been actors at the Sioux Empire Community Theatre together, and we're good friends, and we kind of got invited to be board members, and Rick said to me, look, we can't let the community theatre go under. And this was the first I was hearing that it was about to go under. I suspected there were problems. And I said, no, we can't. And we said, we got to step in and bring some business order to what is typical of a lot of community theatres, where you get artistic people that you desperately need,
right?
Who are very good at taking the words off the page and putting them on the stage, but not necessarily at balancing the books at the end of the day, or coming up with the right marketing approaches and that kind of thing. And the thing is, the philosophy behind Measurable Management and the Vinci Zone is that every problem has a solution. Every problem has a solution, right? The challenge is in finding it. And I came up through, with Measurable Management, to a conclusion many years ago that in order to deliver a satisfactory outcome, a happy outcome, doesn't matter what kind of business you are, how big or small you are, whether you're a corner shop or a multinational, and it doesn't matter what sector you're in, we all do exactly the same three things to deliver a successful outcome. We manage our resources to the best of our ability. We manage and control, the processes that make it all happen. And we manage the relationships that are essential to making it happen. And when it goes wrong and you don't get the outcome that you want, if you're able to identify what the root cause was, you will always find that root cause sits in one or more of those three areas: resources, relationships, processes. So when I manage anything, and when I say anything, in 2016, I was running a large law firm, for a year in England. They got me in there to do Measurable Management, and then they asked me to take over as managing director. And you can do that in management. You can manage a business that you've got no qualifications for and that you've never worked in before, because ultimately it comes down to what I just said to you. Three things: resources, relationships, and processes. If you look at the resources that you have available and the relationships between the people and the customers and the processes, and identify which ones let you down when you were trying to deliver that outcome, and you take corrective action to those, you get a successful outcome. There isn't anywhere else for these problems to hide. Everything that you do in any job means that at any one time during the day, you've got your hands on managing resources or relationships or processes. And that's it. There's nothing else. So identify what your objectives are, evaluate your resources, the relationships, the processes, and address the ones that will directly affect those objectives. So when we took over at the Orpheum Theatre there on day one, we had 2 employees, me and our financial assistant, and we had the production of Mamma Mia to put on stage, and that's a pretty big musical.
That it is, and
For
a very great one that
for a
ended up
staff of
that.
2. So we, obviously we'd hired the director as well, but then it just you get into that mode of, okay, let's break this up into resources, relationships. I mean, some of the relationships didn't exist because there were people that we needed in places that we didn't have any people in. So that's a relatively easy fix in the sense of I've just got to find the people to put in those places. Yeah. And when you do that, you'll always get good outcomes. You'll always get successful outcomes.
Do those 3 have to be in any particular order?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you can,
Yeah. And what you'll
for
find,
one business, it might be 1, 2, 3. For somebody else, it might be 3, 2, 1, or mix it up.
you might look at some businesses and they'll say that our resources are great, our relationships are good, and our processes are good. My response to that is, well, how do we make them even better? Because you can never stop improving them. Yeah. And of the 3, this is a nice question to ask a business owner. Of the 3, which one do you think needs the most work? Yeah. And they, people, they know their businesses, but sometimes they just haven't thought about it in a very simplistic way, because there's really nothing difficult about running an organization, no matter how big it is. All you got to do is think of it in those terms: resources, relationships, and processes. End of.
So how did the Da Vinci Zone come about?
Well, I was putting measurable management in.
Which, if we haven't said it before, it's a new book. I think we introed that at the beginning. It is a new book that you have out. Where can people find it, first of all?
Well, they can find it on Amazon.
Okay.
You can actually find it on all the usual, book outlets.
All right.
But the obvious one to go to is Amazon. And anybody like Barnes and Noble, if they don't have it in stock, which they probably won't because it's brand new anyway, they'll order it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how did that come about? Because it sounds like it's been in the making for a while, because as you mentioned, Rick Wendland, he wrote the foreword for the book.
Yeah.
And talks about your first meeting.
Yeah.
And you had been it was whirling around in the head at that point. How did this come to fruition then?
I'm going to tell you, really, I actually originally wrote the book in its original format, not exactly as it is now, 14 years ago, which is a long time ago. And when I'd finished writing it, I thought, I think I'll just edit it, and I think I can move this around a bit and make it better. And I think I made it worse. And I thought, I'm going to put it to one side and I'll come back to it. And I literally electronically lost it for a long time.
How many pages in the manuscript?
Well, at the moment, I think there's about 170, 80 pages in it, something like that.
It's a lot of data to lose.
Oh, yeah. And the problem was I'd got rid of a computer and I'd given it away, the computer away. And I was thinking, my manuscript must have been on that computer, but I thought I wiped it clean and all that. Well, earlier this year, I was preparing to come over to spend the entire summer here in Sioux Falls. And I thought I better take a couple of flash sticks with me to store stuff on, because I was coming over to do a lot of, business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, on this flash stick that I found in a drawer, which it must have survived a transatlantic move of house and everything else, there on the flash stick, hidden in a file, was the Da Vinci Zone. And I thought,
a big
and I sat and read it, and I thought, wow, I kind of surprised. At the 1 or 2 points in the book, I thought, wow, did I write that? And I thought, this is too good to leave. So I spent this summer, when I wasn't working on other things, sitting in coffee shops in Sioux Falls, re-engineering the book and adding to it, etc. And published it about 3 weeks ago now. So what it is exactly is I've delivered some pretty, although I say so myself, some pretty phenomenal outcomes in some organizations, and to the point where when I've sort of been going into businesses and talking to them about what they could do and how they could work with me, it can sound a little bit unrealistic. You know, I wouldn't blame them for thinking I was blowing the proverbial smoke, you know. But they're true outcomes. I mean, the U.S. Air Force, when they implemented the program, they said, wow, this is without doubt the most effective program we've ever encountered for making things happen. And Iowa City Fire Department nominated Measurable Management for the United Nations Positive Peace Award. And when they vetted it, they, using their words, they said it's being nominated for its phenomenal ability to deliver positive outcomes. So I've seen some amazing things happen. And I got to thinking about Leonardo da Vinci. And I thought Leonardo da Vinci is probably the most divergently talented human being,
incredibly so,
that we've ever known.
Right.
I mean, there may be others that have existed, but he's the one that's recorded in history. Right. And it doesn't matter what he turned his hand to, he was brilliant at it. And he was, I mean, we know him as an artist. We know him as an inventor. He created helicopter designs and submarine designs hundreds of years before the technology existed to build them and whatnot. But he was a biologist. And the heart valve that they put into people's hearts today is identical to the design that he created 400 years ago.
Wow.
You know? Mathematician, right? And
musician,
weaponry, all kinds of stuff. But he had the same plumbing as the rest of us, right? I mean, the guy was obviously a genius, but he was a human being. So it makes you think, have we got the potential to all be Da Vinci's? Or certainly some people have potential to be very smart and very clever indeed. And I thought, what happens when I take businesses through measurable management is, if you think of a business as a town or a city, and the people who work there as buildings, if you search through the attics of all those buildings, if you get into the brains of all those people, guess what happens? Occasionally, you find a masterpiece. Occasionally, in that attic, you find a treasure. And then when you can, capitalize on that treasure. What Da Vinci was brilliant at, what he had going on inside his head was creativity, inventiveness, and artistry. And we've all got that to a certain degree. So if businesses are brave enough to tap in to it, and what I mean by that is it does take bravery to make everybody in the organization a leader, to give everybody in the organization authority to lead and make decisions and change things and spend money, obviously within budgetary limitations, but let people have an idea to make things better and let them go ahead and do it without having to seek permission. All right? And let them make a mistake if they do, because their intentions are good. And the mistakes that people make will be far fewer than the successes, that they'll deliver. So let's open all the stop valves in the brain, because that's what happened with Da Vinci. Somehow all the stop valves in his brain were open. And that's what floods his brain with creativity, inventiveness, and artistry. So let's open the floodgates or the stop valves in the organization and tap into the creativeness and, inventiveness and artistry of the people who work there and let them get on with it. And here in town, there's a company called Building Products up on the north edge of town. Mm-hmm. And it used to be owned by a guy called Lee Shule. And Lee and I worked together putting measurable management throughout his company here in Sioux Falls and over in Council Bluffs and over in Iowa. I'm trying to remember the name. Waterloo, Iowa. Why wouldn't I think of Waterloo? And
because it was in Mamma Mia.
And what happened was Lee actually totally embraced the philosophy of making his people managers and giving the authority to do things without having to come and ask for permission or small amounts of money to do that. He took his business when he inherited it as a $10 million a year company and turned it into over $100 million a year company. And before recently selling it off, a short while ago. And every time he acquired a company, he called me and said, come in and do measurable management and get everybody singing off the same hymn sheet.
All right. So there's a great example of financial, 10 million to 100 million.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to bring up is when you went into Sioux Empire Community Theater, did the rebranding and so forth, you had one other employee beside you. Initially.
Yeah.
And they have how many now? Probably half a dozen?
Yeah, more? I think at one time, while I was still there, we had something like half a dozen what I would call main employees. Mm-hmm. And then we contracted on an annual basis with about another 4 to 6 people for jobs like set design and costume design, that kind of thing. So we had some sort of associate employees as well, if you like. And the idea I had then, which has come to fruition, I'm glad to say, and Oliver and people there have continued to do a great job of, is create a professional theatre company that has employees from within the profession that work with the community. So it's still a community theatre. It still gives people opportunities to get on stage, and it still gives people opportunities to work behind the scenes in technical roles, but they do so under the supervision of people who are professionals who hopefully know what they're doing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another success. What's up next then?
Well, I'm working with Theatre Delhi still in England,
over in England,
and that's going very well. They were struggling with their fundraising, and I took them through a measurable management approach where we focused all the improvements to resources, relationships, and processes around the fundraising aspect of things. And while I was over here this summer, I got an email from the CEO there saying, hey, guess what? We hit our fundraising target. So things are going well with that. When I get back to England next week, after a few days break, I'll get back into the Theatre Delhi stuff. And we've been talking with some people about taking a Penguin Project style approach.
Right.
Because, when I was still at the theatre there, I can't exactly remember how I heard about the Penguin Project, but I heard about it, and two of us went down to South Sioux City to look at the Penguin Project that they had down there, and we decided we wanted to bring it to Sioux Falls, and that's been a real success.
Very
so
much
I want to
so.
do something like that in England, but make a TV program of the whole process from start to finish, where where it becomes like a TV documentary series.
Right. Yeah.
So week on week, it centers around getting the idea off the ground, getting the casting sorted out, doing the rehearsals, getting into the backgrounds of the people who were involved. The actual actors, the mentors, the volunteers, the trials and tribulations, the blood, sweat, and tears of putting a production like that together, and then culminating in the production going on stage in a professional theatre. And there's a TV series in England called Gogglebox. And, the Gogglebox is a nickname for the TV.
Right.
And believe it or not, it's a program where they watch people watching TV. So, and it goes from house
How much
to
do
house.
they pay?
And
Because we have BritBox.
when I was talking to this guy who in turn is talking to the BBC for us, I said to him, I can just see it now, an episode of Gogglebox where they're watching the final episode of our show. And these kids go to the stage. And I said, I can see them sitting on their sofas with tears running down their faces, and lumps in their throats and whatnot. And he said, you sold me. You've sold me, And he's connected with the powers that be at the BBC. So I've got my fingers crossed. Nothing might come of it, but, we'll just make sure that from a resources, relationships, and processes point of view, we cover all the bases. Because if they say no, then we say why.
Right.
And the reason why has to fall into resources, relationships, or processes. And I say, well, if I can fix that resource, relationship, or process, can we go ahead? And what are they going to say?
So what is the biggest resistance you get?
The biggest resistance to measurable management is arrogance from organizations that say, oh, we already do that. And I know they don't. I know they don't. I know that the number of organizations that do things the way we advocate through measurable management are very, very few and far between. They're extremely rare. You can count them on the fingers of one hand out of all of the companies in the USA.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been lucky enough once or twice to convince companies who think they're already doing that to do this. Because what have they got to lose? And it's amazing how when they see the giant leaps that their company take, at high velocity, which is a phrase I use a lot in the book, they realize that they believed that they already did that. I'm not saying they were lying to me. They believed they were already doing that, but they didn't actually believe what they were truly capable of. Because I think we all have these perceived limitations, and sometimes we we crush our own ideas because we think, oh, that would be fantastic, but it's just not possible. And what I'm saying in the Da Vinci Zone is it's all possible. You know, you can find that solution, yeah. And that's the challenge. You know, we've got to transcend our perceived limitations and reach for the Da Vinci Zone. And even if we don't touch the Da Vinci Zone and deliver that exceptionally phenomenal outcome, the byproduct is that the outcomes that you do deliver are so much better than the ones you would have delivered.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So it's the Da Vinci Zone. Don't get it confused with the Da Vinci Code. Totally
well, if you want to
different.
search for them, you know, they both come up side by side.
Oh, hey, you're right there.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah. So go on to Amazon if you'd like to order it electronically. And also, Barnes & Noble, wherever you typically go to get your books. If they don't have it, you can order it.
Yeah.
So it's, again, by Robin Byrne, and that's Byrne. And it's always a pleasure to get to talk to you, my friend. And I wish you and your family well, because you're going back to England for a while. When will you be back then? Back here in the U.S.?
Not until all the cold weather and the snow disappears.
All right. See you next July.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sometime next summer, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We'll go for coffee.
We will do. I look forward to it.
Even though I don't smoke, I'll go down and get you a cigar.
All right.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And we will be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Check out the new ceramic studio in Sioux Falls, conveniently located off Kiwanis Avenue on 5th Street. TJS Ceramics, inside Oscar's Mini Storage. We have thousands of classic vintage ceramic mold items and several new items too. TJS Ceramics offers classes, special open studio nights, and completed ready-to-purchase items. Bisque, studio time, or painting parties are available. Visit TJS Ceramics Studio in person today or email tjsceramics@gmail.com for more details.
Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
Funny, engaging, connected. He's the entertainment reporter for Sioux Falls.
Welcome back,
Here's
everyone.
Dave
Yes,
Holly.
it is a pleasure to talk Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment. You know, we just spoke with Robin Byrne about his book that he has out now. But now we're going to talk about, well, old guests returning, but under a new company name. This little thing called DAPA that's been going on for, a quarter century or so, just all of a sudden says, hey, we're going to have some big news, and kaboom, you are now Spotlight Theater Company. Debbi Jones, Bob Wendland, how are you two?
We're great.
Glad to hear that.
Feeling excited.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so how did the rebranding come about, and why the need for it at this point?
That's a really big question to start with, Dave. So here
well,
we go.
Well, that was the first thing that my love said to me. She says, well, why'd they rebrand? I said, well, I think that's the first question.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes. We're very versed in this question now. So this has been a conversation we've been having for many, many months now. Debbie and Kelsey and I and our marketing team at the Pavilion and a lot of other folks involved at the Pavilion. We started to realize that we had kind of hit a ceiling as a program. We've been doing high quality children's theater for young people for 24 years now in the community, since 2001 when Sarah Crosby first launched the company, launched this organization. And over that time, the program has taken many, many forms, has tried a lot of different things, almost all successfully, I would say, which is pretty great. But one thing has always remained true. We've stayed very focused on our mission, and Debbie is so good about talking about that mission, so I'll let her do that part. But So we were starting to realize that we were hitting these ceilings in a lot of different places of the program. We were reaching the same exact people every time. The same people were coming to our shows. The same kiddos were coming to our auditions. And we know that our community is a lot broader than that. And so in an effort to try to continue to diversify our kiddos that we see on stage and off, and our audiences that get to come and like perform or get to see our performances, we started to realize what are some of the things that we can control in that growth. How can we make a positive impact on this program? And pretty quickly we realized that it was time for a rebrand. In fact, Sarah Crosby was one of the first people we sat down to talk to about this rebrand, because obviously she's been integral to the program for 20 plus years. And when I mentioned it to her, the first thing she said was, well, it's about time. So that was really reassuring to get that message from someone who has been so important to the program and will continue to be. And so we wanted to really honor the legacy that she has created and so many other, theater artists have created. But we started to realize that the program has started to focus more on theater than the performing arts.
Right.
The program has started to focus more on inclusivity, while not sacrificing the high quality, like professional level work that our students do. And so the previous name, Dakota Academy of Performing Arts, started to feel like it was holding us back from where we could go. We don't do performing arts anymore. We do theater. The orchestral side of the programming, that honestly was like the basis of how the program started back in 2001. We've given to the South Dakota Symphony Orchestra because that's what they do.
That's their...
and they're continuing that legacy, and they're doing incredible things with that. With Camerata is what they call that program. And so we're really focused on theater, and with the addition of Kelsey Werpy to our team, now we have a place for theater technicians as well, young theater technicians and stage managers and young folks who want to be behind the scenes making the magic happen on stage. And so we've started to stretch our boundaries in so many ways, but staying true to theater. And so we changed the performing arts section to be, theater company. That's what we're doing now. We're a theater company. And the academy word, we haven't completely lost it because we have the Theater Artist Development Academy now, which is a separate program that we just launched last month. But as a broad overarching term for the program, it was starting to feel, and we had heard some echoes in the community that it felt somewhat unattainable for certain people. This
exclusive.
Yeah,
Right.
Exclusive. Debbi uses the term a boarding school. It started to sound, like.
True. You think
a little
of it
too
as
big,
a
a little
little
too
maybe
lofty.
highbrow and so forth.
Yeah. So it really at the forefront, it's always been like this conversation has always been about breaking down barriers. How do we get more kiddos, more families, more audience members to see us in the spotlight? So, yeah.
So one of the first things that came out with DAPA and was the fact that there were the plays for living and so forth. And so not only was it bringing theater to youth, but also the youth then was taking it to the youth as well, with social issues and so forth. And so does that still filter through the whole works?
Yes, so we're still continuing our Plays for Living tradition. It's my favorite part about the program. That we do and that we still do. And we actually even just commissioned a new piece that's going to start touring this spring called Monster in the Mirror, written by Caitlin Kenny, who's an Augustana graduate playwright in New York. And it addresses body dysmorphia and online bullying. So, continuing to do Plays for Living. We had a play. We finished one play tour already for the school year, and another play's finishing their tour next week, and we'll start performing our suicide prevention play at Avera Behavioral Health in the adolescent unit next month. And so I mean, just like Sarah always said, the kids in Sioux Falls are just as talented as they are anywhere else in the world. They just need that opportunity. So Plays for Living is just another way that we continue to provide that opportunity for students to use their talents to make an impact. And so, yeah, like Bob said, we want to shine a spotlight on all the, the incredible work that's happening here. But not only that, but share that spotlight within the schools and within our community.
So how many kids does this involve now? Before you laugh because of a puppy dog that's at your feet.
It's really fascinated with your shoelaces.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Yeah, he can untie them
Oh my
and he
gosh.
can retie them, but in knots.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, what was the
Yeah,
question?
so how many dogs? I mean, how many kiddos are involved?
I
in
mean,
this?
we have over 1,000 who participate each year between all of our programs, our summer camps, our youth productions, which are our school year shows, as well as the Place for Living, our classes. Yes, and for sure, yeah, easily over 1,000 between all the different things that are happening.
Did you ever think that it would get to that? Did you dream about it?
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when I started in this position, I mean, Bob had already provided so many growth opportunities for
Roseanne
DAPA.
Hoffman before me.
And
Oh,
Roseanne,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, back
great
in the
history of awesome people.
yeah, back in the day, and I mean, before DAPA combined with the Pavilion, back in like 2008, 2009, when they were just doing a show here or there for children, right? They were doing like one show a year. And then just as the program continued to grow, it grew and grew. But
He is the mascot, so
Yes,
he's entitled.
Yes, one show by one and now we do 6 6 shows during the school year, as well as our 5 or 6 Place for Living shows during the school year, as well as 14 plus summer camps and all of the classes. So
14 plus camps?
yeah, and I want to say 5 of them are performances where they do like a full scale show. So yeah, it's been amazing to watch the progress and the growth of the program.
What do you hear not only from the kids but from the parents? What in terms of the impact it makes on them?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just thinking about the email we got today
Yeah,
that made me cry.
Yep.
Just I mean, just today we had a parent send us an email saying that this program saved her kid's life like
multiple
times. And now I'm going to tear up just thinking about it. But I mean, we get to see it firsthand too. So I'm just the impact that, regardless of what the parents say, but though our families on the whole are so supportive and we have been so blessed and lucky to get to work with some really, really incredible, dedicated, generous with their time and talents and energy and resources, parents and families. But yeah, so I mean, we see firsthand these kids change when they participate in the arts, as is clear in any study that's ever been done.
So then when a child comes in, you get to see that maybe they're a shy person, and then by the end of the school year or the end of the summer when they're in a bunch of camps and so forth, you can see how much they progress there. But I would assume that many of them come back, and you get to see that growth yearly too.
Yeah, we've got a pretty wild retention rate. It's very, very high. And I think that's a testament to many people, certainly our staff, Debbi and Kelsey, but all of our part-timers as well. I mean, every individual who is on any of our teams, whether it's a production team or they're leading a class or a master class or whatever, they're highly experienced. They know their field really, really well. But more importantly, they're educators at heart. And so their goal, their primary reason for showing up is to make sure that the students that they're teaching are learning something, are growing. Going back to the question you just asked us about our students and our families, one of the things that I was most nervous about in this rebrand was what our staff would say. And they were all across the board over the moon excited. And then very close second to that in my concerns was like some of our key families who, like we're talking about retention, some of our families who've been with us for over a decade because they have multiple kids. And when one graduates out of the program, another one's, on their tail. So many of them, in my head, I was like, oh, they're all going to be nervous that this is us trying to like push out our current families. And all of them across the board have embraced this new, drive that we have toward diversifying our student body and bringing in more families, because that's what they want too. They also recognize that, the core families of our program are still going to be a part of our program and a vital part of our program, but there's room for more core families, and there's room for more young people to get to access the incredible resources and the world-class staff that we have.
Yeah.
Are we going to see, because the quality and the production values and everything over the past decade have increased dramatically, not to use a theater term, but are we going to see that even grow exponentially?
That is our goal. Yes. Yeah. There's just so much talent and so much potential in this area. Like we're just so excited to continue to reach that, work with that, hone that. In all areas.
Well, one of the things that Carrie and I will get asked a lot is, well, what are you going to a DAPA show for? You don't have a child or a grandchild in it, do you? Yeah. No, but you want to see who's going to be starring on the stage in community theater or Good Night or Monstrous Little Theater in 5 to 10 years. Go watch them. Yeah. And then when they get to that point, you'll go, wow. And, and that's what's so much fun for us is to see how much growth there has been in DAPA, now Spotlight Theater Company, but also in everything else and how it's moving along and how it all comes together. And, I've mentioned it so many times. It comes almost every show about talking about collaboration versus competition. And do you see that as well when the kids come in and they've already got that kind of spirit?
Oh, totally. Yeah. One, and honestly, like you were saying, another big motivating force to the rebrand was that we want more Daves and Carries to come to our shows. We want to help put this message out into the community that yes, it's kids on stage, but these kids are crazy talented.
Yeah.
And the people that we have on our team supporting these kids are even crazier talented, and so it's the perfect opportunity for, whether you're a young family or anywhere in between, a retired couple, anything at all, it's entertainment, and it's exciting entertainment to see what these kids are capable of. You forget that they're kids. By the end of the show, you're applauding for professional level actors and technicians and everybody involved. And so that was a big driving force too. We wanted to take out of the original name any allusion to like a school or an after school program or a group of kids, and which is why we're calling it a theater company now, because that's what it is. It's a group of individuals who are coming together regardless of their age and putting together a really like top tier world class performance.
One of the things we hear about, you already brought up the word diversity, but also inclusiveness. And that's another one of the great things that I think is such a selling point, if you will, of Spotlight Theater Company now, in the fact that it does that. And not only does it do it, you stick to your word about it. What kind of challenges do you see that as you have the growth, but yet you want to keep all of that intact? What do you think is going to be one of the bigger things to deal with?
I'm not sure I totally understand the question.
Okay, so you've already got diversity, inclusivity, and so forth, and you continue to expand, grow, in terms of numbers, in terms of the performances, the quality, and the ability. What do you see as something that might be a tough part to carry on everything as it continues to grow even more?
I mean, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is accessibility. I think accessibility is a fun word to throw out, and it makes us feel really, really good about who we are and where we are. But it's tough, to meet everybody where they are. Some young people in our community don't have the luxury of having the ability or the access to transportation to wherever they want to go. And that's a big hurdle for us and a big challenge for us that we've been having a lot of conversations around, and we'll certainly continue to. and yeah, so I mean that one of the benefits that we have working in the venues that we get to work in is that they're already, for the most part, ADA compliant. And so when it comes to that piece of it, we're not necessarily having to climb too far uphill. But yeah, things like transportation, things like language barriers, we've got a lot of ESL families in our community now. And we want them to know that this is a space for them. And so in order for us to stay true to that commitment, we have to offer resources and offer, multilingual versions of all of our collateral. So if we have a brochure in English language, in the English language, we need to be able to offer that in other languages as well, because a lot of our students in the public school systems are coming from, like I said, ESL families now. And so for them to be able to take something home to their parents who maybe can't read English isn't very helpful, And so I think there are a lot of spaces and avenues where we need to continue to stretch to not only speak about accessibility, but practice accessibility. So that's what comes to mind for me when you ask that question.
So tell us all about Kelsey then. Your new production coordinator, is that the official title?
Yes. Well, first let me say that we hired her as an intern, and a month and a half later, we hired her full time because she is that good.
So good. Yeah, she's amazing. She's so resourceful, so creative. She's an artist, as well as just really great at building and taking what is available to her or what things we've used in the past and then transforming those things into new set pieces. And not only that, she's a great educator. She works really, really well with the students. The kids adore her.
Yep.
Again, we hired her as an intern for 1 month and then added her full time, and she was responsible for running like our entire tech theater camp this summer, and is now designing all of the sets and her world and her priorities, right, are all of our technical elements. So that's her responsibility in her world, and she's just handling it so well. She's amazing.
And she's much hipper and cooler than Debbie or I.
Yeah, we're
and
the
so
grandparents.
we're now the grandparents of Spotlight Theater Company.
Oh, good Lord, what does that make me? Great.
Well, that's something we haven't talked about, Dave, is how you were there at the beginning.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the first actual interview that Sarah Crosby ever did about it was on my show when I was at the Kellawam.
Nice.
A bajillion years ago. And she said exactly the same thing, Debbie. Kids in Sioux Falls, just as talented, haven't had the opportunities. And we've had a great relationship ever since. And I actually was a Plays for Living director for a couple of years and thoroughly enjoyed that. And it is funny because, oh gosh, I see some people that I had back then that are on stage now, or they're volunteering, helping out in something, or doing the tech work. And, that puts a little joy in my heart that, hey, this isn't just a program that, the non-sports kids can go to. This is what their sport is.
Yeah.
What excites them and gets them motivated and moving is theater and production and all the things that come along with it. And I guess the other thing that I really love about this is now that there is getting to be more opportunities for tech and so forth.
Yeah.
And that is such a great thing because, well, first of all, there's actors that get into it, go, oh, I really like acting. And then they'll maybe make a friend that is somebody that's, I really love doing the tech stuff. And then all of a sudden they're talking, well, what about when you do this? How does that work? And, maybe they'll each try the other thing. And it's making more well-rounded theater people.
Absolutely.
And we're very, very fortunate that we have this program and that now it has become a Spotlight Theater Company. And who came up with Spotlight?
We worked really closely with the Pavilion marketing team
throughout
all of this. So they came up with a few different options for a name and visuals and font and colors. And Sonia Heinrich is our digital our graphic designer. That's the word for it. And so she was pretty integral in a lot of that. She was using psychology behind all of it. And, most of it was floating over our heads because we were just like, we like that one, for reasons that we can't really necessarily put a finger on. But so yeah, they gave us a bunch of different names, but ultimately we landed on Spotlight because, well, for a lot of reasons. But I think my favorite reason is that the Spotlight itself, the actual piece of equipment that is a Spotlight, is something that in some way, shape, or form, every person on the team or on the stage or behind the scenes or whatever has to have an impact on. The director has to decide when it's being used in the show. There's a stagehand or a technician actually maneuvering the stagehand or the Spotlight itself. The light board operator has to cue it, or designer has to cue it. The light board operator has to press the button. The costumer has to make sure that the costumes look good under the Spotlight. Obviously, the actor has to find the Spotlight, find your light. So it really embodied, I think, one of the biggest driving factors for us. We want this group to feel like a troupe of artists who are coming together every time, whether it's a class or a full Broadway level production. We want people to feel like there's a spot for you here, in or adjacent to the Spotlight, where you can do your best work.
Yeah. And then for me, I really think about, our mission is to provide opportunities for young people to excel in the theater. And I think about that quote of Sarah's, right? That they just need that opportunity. And it aligns so well with the Pavilion's mission, which is to educate, entertain, and enrich the lives, right, of people. Totally. And when in order to uplift, right, these students who are just so incredibly talented and provide these opportunities for these kids here, that's spotlighting what they do, not only on the stage, but like you said, off the stage, and behind the spotlight. So yeah, we're just so excited.
So you two are teachers in this respect for this program. What do you two learn out of being in that role?
So much. I actually stepped away from the education side of the program for many years, for 5 years, until very recently. I directed Into the Woods with our teenagers this summer. And I mean, beyond the fact that I had forgotten how much I just love this kind of work, it is just my favorite thing to do in the theater realm is work with young people. I think a big reason for that is that as a theater professional, I view myself as such.
And well, you should.
Well, thank you. I find myself oftentimes feeling like I've already done it all, or I've already learned it all, or I'm already aware of it all. And when you're working with young people, not only are they attuned to new trends and new things that are happening, and they're, like we already said, far hipper and cooler than me. So you're learning about all of those
Except for that sweater
things.
vest.
Well,
that's pretty cherry.
I mean, I wore it just for you.
Thank you.
So you're learning about these new things, but also you're being reminded, maybe more than learning, you're being reminded of what it means to be a part of a community and build a community. Our young artists are so good. And I don't know if we're teaching them that or if they're just coming to the table with that and we're just reinforcing it. But they're so good at building community. It's such a welcoming space. It's such a safe space for these kids. And honestly, they're doing a lot of that work themselves. We're just supporting them in it. And I don't know if it's just part of being a theater kid, because we've all been there, that you're just inclusive and you want to, everybody to get along and you want everybody to be a part of the process. But very rarely, maybe never, have I ever felt like it's been a competitive and cutthroat environment. And our kids do a lot of that work. And so it's just being reminded of that core value of just community and inclusivity, and our kids are so good at that. So that's what I learn, I think. Yeah.
Debbie, what is a camp that you would like to see Spotlight have that hasn't been done yet?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it'd be so fun. We do our tech theater camp, which kind of encompasses all of the aspects of tech. But man, it would be so cool to see just some of those broken down further into detail. Yes. Yeah. An intensive on light design or on set design or costume design. And as our program continues to grow, my hope is that we can continue to, increase those opportunities for that. as well. We've been slowly growing and offering more and more improv classes, which, as you all know, is my favorite. So that's, again, just exciting to have that part of it grow. I remember when Roseanne first interviewed me for this position, she asked me this same question. I was like, we need an improv team for DAPA. So we haven't quite gotten there yet, but someday, maybe under Spotlight, that can be a fun thing.
Looking for volunteers.
Yeah, it's such a good time. But no, I'm just excited for all the potential there is. As we said, it's just continued to grow. So,
all right. So what ages can get involved in Spotlight?
Spotlight is for kids ages 6 through 18. We have opportunities for different age groups within that realm throughout the school year and summer. If a student is looking to get involved right now, we have classes available. Our next class starts October 7th. It's for ages 6 through 10, creative drama. It's a great opportunity, not only if it's your first time kind of experiencing the theater world, or if you're just looking to, do some more creative theater practice. It's great for that age group. So that's coming up. And then we've also got a costuming and a stage management workshop, as well as a musical theater tap dance and an improv class, all coming up here for classes. So those are available to register for right now. Otherwise, we'll do auditions for our spring semester shows. In early January, we're doing Lion King Jr., How to Be a Pirate, and Alice in Wonderland. But the best way for someone to really just start to get to know the program, if they're looking to get to know it no matter who they are, is come see a show. We have Disney's Finding Nemo Jr. is happening at the end of October. Tickets for all of our fall shows go on sale to the public this Friday, September 27th, 7th,
whatever
day Friday is at 10 a.m.
27th.
27th. Yay.
All right. Fantastic. Well, you've been here many times, both of you, and I'm sure there will still be many more times you will be here. So I got to keep coming up with questions to ask you, because it used to be, when you're not part of Arts and Entertainment, what do you like to be entertained by? I think you've both been here already once this year, so it was probably, what's your word for 2024?
Yep.
So now, what is your question for me?
Oh my goodness, putting us in the hot seat.
Wow, how fun. What's your dream role?
Oh, that's great.
Oh, wow.
You could be, any person, you could, any gender, any age, whatever.
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be like a role that, necessarily that you'll play someday, but like, if you could play any role, your dream role.
All righty. Yeah, I would like to be George again in Neil Simon's Chapter 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You've played it before?
I've played it before.
Nice.
But that was 1987. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But clearly an impactful experience.
Definitely, yeah. It's just a 4-person play, and typically people love to do it at dinner theaters. And it was just a phenomenal experience because I had never had that many lines before, for one thing. It's like, I actually did it? Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, Bob.
Okay, here's my question. I think it'll make sense. So we talked a little bit about how our theater community right now feels just like super supportive of each other and inclusive, and everybody's just like rallied together for the last few years. So with that, I oftentimes find myself thinking like, okay, we have such a broad group of artists at every level who are just like constantly cheering each other on. And I think maybe the next chapter of that is collaboration, right? Like, how do we start to take some of that energy and excitement around what each other are doing or is doing, I don't know what the proper grammar is there, and fuel that together. If we were capable of, we are capable of doing that. So if we were to do that and collaborate on something, what do you think would be like a really fun project for all the like theater groups or music groups or arts groups in town to come together behind?
Building a theater from the ground up. I would, and a small venue, actually. I'm not thinking, against pavilion or anything, but to have that spot. When Maren Engel was on the show recently talking about her new position within the city, that's one of the things that she is trying to find is the place where a venue isn't going to cost you thousands of dollars when you're not even going to be able to bring that much to the door.
Right.
And so that would be mine that I would really love to see, is that there would be some center for that, that maybe it needs to be private funded versus city, but it needs to be happening, because there's even more things out there that we could all be doing.
Totally.
But finding the venue, finding the resources that can go along with that venue are just a little bit difficult at this point. So, yeah, that would be a dream of mine.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Love it.
All right. Love you guys. Wow. And I've already loved DAPA for 20 plus years, so I'm sure I'm going to love Spotlight Theater Company as well. So Debbi Jones and Bob Wendland, thank you so much, as always, for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime. And we'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Comedy magician and hypnotist Jesse Moffat's right. He can't play the piano, but he can sure entertain crowds with his amazing magic and clever quips. His shows always make the participants the stars, especially when they've fallen asleep on stage. They've been hypnotized. Are you the party planner in your group? Then you owe it to your group to make the event magical, even if it puts you to sleep. Here's how.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffat Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
Check out the new ceramic studio in Sioux Falls, conveniently located off Kiwanis Avenue on 5th Street. TJS Ceramics inside Oscar's Mini Storage. Bisque, studio time, painting parties, and finished items are available. Visit TJS Ceramic Studio in Sioux Falls today.
People ask him where he got his top shelf voice. Dime store? Bargain. Once again, here's Dave Holly.
Thanks again to my great guests, Robin Byrne and Debbi Jones and Bob Wendland. Thank you, longtime listeners, as well as those of you checking us out for the first time. All of you are appreciated. All your downloads, your likes, your shares, they each make a difference. By the way, never miss an episode. All 248 are online at davehollyhour.com. As the Sioux Falls Arts Council says, together we art. As Arts South Dakota says, home is where the art is. As I say, put some art in your heart. Remember, my name is Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by TJS Ceramic Studio, Serendipity Studio Gallery and Gifts, Chasers Food and Spirits, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Jesse Moffat's Entertainment, and the Sioux Falls Arts Council. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, simply buy Dave a cup of coffee. Go to davehollyhour.com and click on the coffee cup icon. Don't forget to stay up to date on the show by following on Instagram and Facebook. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.